G'day folks, talk to Brad Smeele, pro wakeboarder, accident, quadriplegia, a bloody good positive influencer and author, and really appreciate the raw honest yarn that we had of life being a pro athlete, where he was wakeboarding in NZ, where he's from, pushed the limits as far as he could, had to get over to the States, doing some NBDs, never been done before tricks, really honing in on his skills, then bang, quadriplegia, C4, and just seeing his life of rehabilitation over there to coming back to NZ and just dealing with life. And just the rawness of what he talked about. And I know how it affects me as a quad in a great positive way, but it's good for other individuals that have gone through similar circumstances or that haven't. Just a bit of education on what individuals go through, the hardships, the highs and the lows, when you go through a devastating injury, and what do you do with it? Regardless if you're walking or rolling, and he's not mucking around, but he's having a crack at life in general. He's got a lot of stuff in the works, exciting stuff coming up that he yarned up to me about, so I look forward to that. But, he talks about the relationship with himself, with others, whether it's friends, family, women in his life, post-injury. What's that like? Like, he's laying it all out there, and I appreciate that. And I know a lot of listeners and viewers would as well. Because, life can be one thing where it's all sunshine and lollipops, and all of a sudden the rug's pulled out from under you, and you need to reassess and find a way. And he definitely has. Love your work, brother. So if you like the podcast, hit that subscribe or follow button. And also got a Patreon page. The link is within the description. So if you want to roll with the squad and become a patron, that'd be great. I want to thank our sponsors, Connex, an NDIS service provider that's registered in all states and territories, predominantly operating up and down the east coast of Australia, with its main workforce of disability support workers, registered nursing, support coordination, levels 1, 2 and 3, psychosocial recovery coaching, the bricks and mortar, SDA, 24/7 supports, SIL, supported independent living, MTA, medium-term accommodation, STA, short-term accommodation, ILO, individualised living options, which is a hybrid style of living, which can include people with disability and their families. And Culture Connex works with a wide group of individuals across the board. Doesn't matter the disability or the age. Working with individuals with spinal cord injuries, acquired brain injuries, Huntington's disease, cerebral palsy, Friedreich's ataxia, amputees, Down syndrome, ASD, autism's level 1, 2 and 3, psychosocial disabilities, and all other physical disabilities and cognitive intellectual, whether that's standard intensity or very high complex standards of support. And outside of the NDIS, working in other state and territory-based schemes. I'm very proud of what Culture Connex does, because yes, I'm a co-founder and part owner of the organisation. So if you need supports at home or in the community, or transitioning out of hospitals or rehabilitation centres, contact us. I want to thank our sponsors, Permobil Australia, the greatest electric wheelchairs in the land. Wouldn't be sitting in anything else but these 4 wheels right here, and they've got great assistive tech also. So righto, let's get into it. Brother, Brad Smeele, thanks for jumping on the podcast and having a yarn with us. Bros, really appreciate it, eh?
I'm glad I finally got around because I found your message in it was like the hidden messages folder. And I was like, oh my God, like I've left this dude hanging for a couple of years now, I think. So no, it's good to finally connect and jump on your podcast, mate.
Oh, good, brother. I knew it would come around the way eventually, so everybody's busy flat out or forget things. I know I'm guilty of not looking at bloody messages sometimes or emails, because there's 1,000 things going on, but all good. Just glad that you can jump on. So, bros, before we go through, you've gone through the roller coaster of life and when it's got to do with quadriplegia, what life was, what life, through the initial stages of quadriplegia and now looking at where life is going. But and also when you're looking at your book as well, because that's pretty important, and what it means to people in the community, whether they've got a disability or not. But whereabouts are you in NZ, and whereabouts are you now, and where'd you grow up in New Zealand, brother?
So I'm just slightly northwest of Auckland. Um, I grew up in sort of some of the central suburbs around Auckland City, and just yeah, I mean, I sort of grew up around there, but then took off to the States and Aussie and all over to go and pursue wakeboarding back in the day. And then after my accident, which was it'll be 12 years ago in less than a week. Um, and after that, like after I went through the spinal units and all that stuff, then I found a place to live on the North Shore and lived there for 8 years or so. And then um, my brother and I ended up buying a place together. We got a 1 hectare section, sort of a little lifestyle block. Um, and we got the dogs and the veggie garden and the chickens and all that sort of stuff. So it's pretty rad. We're about as close as you can get to Auckland while still having a bit of land and stuff like that. We're about 25 minutes drive to the city, and it's awesome, man. It's just nice to be close enough to everything, to my friends and all that, family, but also feeling like you're not in amongst the city and you got a bit of space, you got a bit of room to breathe, a bit of a view. Yeah, I find it really peaceful out here, man. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm hearing you, brother. Like, I'm like we'll talk it off camera. I'm an hour and a half north of Sydney, but I spent, God, 15 years travelling back and forth to Sydney in a chair and out of a chair, because me being a quadriplegic with a acquired disability as well. And, I do love the city and everything that goes on there, but I do love getting up back home and where I am now, like on the Central Coast, and, I'm like close to, multiple bodies of water, and it's just a lot more quiet, and then got some rural areas that aren't far either, so I feel you there. But so with life before being in the chair and even before wakeboarding, so where did you actually grow up? Have you always been on the North Island, or were South Island, a bit of both, or
Yeah,
where did you grow up?
always in Auckland City. Yeah, we bounced around a few suburbs. My parents, would sort of buy a house, do it up, flip it, move to another one, do another job. So we moved around a little bit, but mainly around central suburbs, and then it was sort of tail end of high school that I realized I wanted to travel with wakeboarding, and so I took off to the US, and I'd already done one world championships in Australia that were in Penrith in 2003. Um, but yeah, that was sort of life growing up in central suburbs, just school friends and getting up to mischief. And for anyone who's read my book, it details all the the ins and outs of growing up, and just like fights at school and girls, and all the different influences that we have on us back then. And I really wanted to tell that story in the book, just to kind of give a little bit of context and understanding as to what we allow to influence us as we're growing up, and then as you get older and you look back and you're like, why did I put so much importance on that thing, or on my friends having this opinion about me, or whatever it might have been. So yeah, I mean, it's I think it's important to reflect and to look back and learn from the things the silly stuff we did when we were younger.
Yeah, reflection's a good thing, brother. But so what's it go? Most of you males over there, or even you got a lot of females now too, getting into rugby, but you're pretty much born with a bloody rugby ball in your hands over there. It's like your national sport. So Where's wakeboarding come into the equation? And were you
Yeah,
into
I mean, I,
rugby at all?
yeah, I played rugby and cricket and all that from 5 years old onwards. It's, as you said, we're sort of, um, led into it. It's kind of the natural progression for anyone in sport. But no, wakeboarding came from my mum. She used to be one of New Zealand's top water skiers when she was sort of in her late teens, early 20s. More three event, slalom, trick, and jump. She even held the New Zealand jump record for 10 years, I think, was the first New Zealand woman to jump over 100 foot. And, and yeah, just as a family, we grew up sort of going, on holidays to a little block of land up north, and we had like a little nice, quiet harbour to go water skiing and stuff in, and so got into water skiing quite young. And then, yeah, one family holiday, we're at some friend's place, and they pulled out this old wakeboard. It was just the most basic as, directional sandal strap bindings, big old fin like it was a surfboard. And I saw this older kid giving it a go and ripping around, and I just fell in love with it. Jumped on. Took me probably 20 minutes or so to get up to start with, but the moment I was standing on the board, I fell in love with it. Quickly found a local club that would go. Would have a wakeboard club night on. I think it was Thursday nights, and then it became Tuesday and Thursdays. So I'd go along to that
So you're
after school.
wakeboarding of a night time or an
In
afternoon?
in the evening, like
Oh yeah.
obviously summer, you can it's light till sort of 8 p.m. So we'd have those sort of club evenings, and yeah, I got into inline hockey. So I played that for a couple of years. So roller hockey. So
Yeah, with
obviously,
rollerblades, yeah.
yeah. So like because we don't have many ice rinks, so I would have played ice hockey, but that was the more accessible version, and did that for a couple of years, and then my hockey practice was on Thursday nights, and so was wakeboard club night. They were Thursday evenings, so I had to pick one. Um, and I was still playing rugby at the time, but I found I was just getting injuries and stuff that would stop me from being able to wakeboard. And I just got hooked on it, man, and met some really cool people. Most of them older guys and girls that influenced me that I got to watch and see them ripping and hear about them traveling overseas and where wakeboarding took them. I was like, man, I never even knew that this was a thing. And so, yeah, it took a couple of years and I ended up dropping out of school a year early to take off to the US and pursue wakeboarding.
Right. So is that because that was just natural progression? Was there much of a scene like in New Zealand, like over there really kicking off, or did you
The
feel sort
scene,
of held back and you wanted to explore your options?
it was a bit of both. Like the scene was awesome back then. Like it was way better than it is now. I feel like the sport kind of changed and became a bit more elitist in more later years where the boats got more expensive and it was just, obviously gas prices and things like that as well. It went from, your average punter who was out there just riding behind their outboard and they could come along to an event and, it wasn't so PC. We had a tequila sponsor for our nationals one year and then the next year was like Corona and so there was massive parties and it was just such a scene. It was so much fun. I was young, early to mid teens and just loved the scene. Loved kind of there was a decent amount of competitors in a lot of the different divisions. I was in junior men, and I think it was my second nationals. I would have been about 14 years old when I won junior men, which was sort of up to 17 years old, 18, I think. And then I stepped up to open men at that point. Just I wanted to be a small fish in a big pond, and even then, I sort of felt like I outgrew that pretty quickly. And that's where through the people that I'd been influenced by and become friends with, Jeff Weatherall and my buddies Ants and Brant, who just, yeah, they're just loved wakeboarding as well. They were awesome at it. I got to go riding with them and get that sort of influence and those people to look up to, and went along to the wakeboard camp. We had, Mark Kenny, one of your young Aussies, absolute legend, who would come over and come and hang out and just I saw him ride and I was like, oh my God, I had no idea that was possible on a wakeboard, and that just really made me want to see where I could go with it. And yeah, so it was a combination of the two. Like the scene was awesome, but then I outgrew it, and I knew that I needed to go somewhere where there were better riders and better coaches and even better conditions. And Orlando was the place to go for that.
Yeah, because you wouldn't, like, it'd be a bit, how's it going in winter, like back home in NZ, because it gets dark pretty quick and, like, the weather's, can get pretty cold over that way compared to, like, you're talking about Florida. Like, I'm thinking in Australia that's like the equivalent to Cairns pretty much, like, where it's pretty much summer all year round, yeah?
Yeah, and I mean winter in Florida. I'd never done a winter over there, but it does get cold for a little bit. You can still ride, you can still throw a wetsuit on. I guess it's like
Oh,
New
so
Zealand winter. I
would
did
you get
a
endless summers, Ed? And would you go there for summer and
yeah
then come back here?
yeah I did like 21
Cheeky.
summers back to back, like 10 years of summer. Um, but yeah, it's been. Um, I think like there was the 1 year before I started traveling, and I had the world champs and in Aussie. That's all right, you can leave that. And yeah, I had the world champs, and so we did a winter training in New Zealand, and oh my God, it was brutal. There are times you're out there, it's so cold, even wearing a wetsuit, that your knuckles and your hands are just
Mm.
frozen to the bone, just from the wind chill. But I'd be in a full bloody steamer wetsuit. But I had a buddy who was like around my age. He was sort of my main competitor at that time from the South Island, Tony Evans, and he'd be riding in board shorts in the middle of winter. I'm like, you are absolutely nuts, but they make him different down in the South. Um, but yeah, having those competitors, those influences, that sort of competitive rivalry, I think was a huge part in what pushed me to progress and to get good enough to then take off to Florida and then win a junior world championships at the end of that first year.
Over in Florida?
Well, I took off to Florida for the summer, and the worlds was actually in Spain that year. Honestly, I didn't expect to win worlds. I didn't even make it to the semifinals the previous year, but I'd had a really good season in the States. I was learning tricks daily, weekly if not daily, and yeah, just put together a really good run at Worlds and came away with the gold medal, and that was yeah, what really solidified it for me. Because I guess as parents do, they have their hesitations. You leave school to go and pursue a niche sport, like it's even though my mum did it when she was young, she took off to Florida as well for water skiing, so she kind of
Uh, you're
understood
just
it, but
following in the footsteps.
had all these hesitations as well, and so it just winning worlds kind of was like, yo, hey, look, this works, like,
Mm.
uh, and so it kind of all took off from there.
Yeah, that's not a small feat at all. Like, you've just jumped onto the world stage and then pretty much boom. So that would have just gave you, it would almost feel like a drug, yeah? Like, it's like, bang, you want to get more of that. So it's no wonder
Yeah.
you were having back-to-back summers.
And the people I was on the podium with too made it that much more special. So my buddy Tony Evans, I just mentioned, he I think did he get second or third? I think he got third, and then Hank from Aussie, another legend around my age at the time, got second. So that was cool to have some Kiwis and Aussies on the podium.
Yep, yep. So how was it back then? Like, the Kiwis and Aussies were pretty strong, apart from the Yanks.
Yeah, I mean, competitively, yeah, we were doing pretty good. I mean, not so much Kiwis because there was only a couple of us really holding it down. Like, I mean, I guess we did pretty good. Like, there was Jeff Weatherall and Andrea Fountain that was sort of right up in the top
Mm.
range in the pro men and women's, and then myself and Tony, and we had a couple of youngsters as well. But yeah, we actually, now that I think about it, we were pretty strong. But the Aussies were, yeah, there was just so many more. Um, but it's that similar thing with other sports where if it's New Zealand playing Australia, like we're fierce rivals. But if it's New Zealand or Australia playing anyone else, we're like going for each other. It's
Yeah,
sort of
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
and it was like that. I'd come over to Aussie for the Aussie Pro Tour and just like get along like a house on fire with everyone. Was really welcomed and accepted by the crew over there. And then once we were in Orlando, we just kind of bonded together, and it
yeah.
became the Kiwis and Aussies, the Anzacs in the US.
That, that's awesome. Hey, I know we bring that up off camera. Did you ever ride in old mates back in Port Macquarie how he's got that river set up and got dragged along by the car through like a
Oh yeah,
sort of a
Tullen's
DIY
place.
setup?
Oh, dude, that was one of the coolest things. Like my first Aussie Pro Tour, I remember me and Tony went over, and Chris Bauer, who was the editor of Wake magazine at the time, picked us up and took us on tour. And yeah, one of the stops was Port Macquarie. I think actually that was the first stop that we went to. And it was funny, like when we were competing, we were there at Stony Park, like doing riding behind the boat and everything. The moment we were done, we were off up the road to Tullen's place. He had this little ditch, one flat bar rail in the middle of it, and just this absolute beater of a car. It looked like it had come straight from the wreckers that would just tow us up and back. And it was almost just as much fun driving the car as it was riding behind it. But yeah, you just hit the rail, whip into the end, the car does a full circle, runs over its own rope, and then takes off back the other way. And man, it was so much fun. And I think like those little sessions, that was sort of, I guess, what opened my eyes to winching and sort of more urban wakeboarding, where you find little spots to go and hit, like different handrails or spillways or anything like that. And that really drew me into that side of wakeboarding as well, not just behind the boat.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, like when you're talking about urban, because that just bring back flashbacks of a memory I had when I was way young and being at the cable ski park in Penrith in Western Sydney, but just seeing how they would manipulate, like as soon as, because I had no knowledge of it, because, I'm just going in there mucking around on a bloody kneeboard, like, because I was there part of a school excursion or whatever, but just watching these guys that were in the cable park, and as soon as like you had the cable, as soon as the cable would go around the wheelie system and there'd be a bit of slack, and they'd wait for the slack. When there'd be a bit of slack, then they'd anticipate when it would start to pull, and when that pull would happen, then they'd jump, and these dudes are getting flown up in the air and doing flips and all this sort of carry on. And it was pretty impressive to see him time that and do that in cable, because I never knew you could do that within that
Yeah.
environment. Because in my mind, I'm just thinking like a boat that creates a wake for you to jump off, not what that would produce.
Yeah, the line tension, like air tricks on cable is pretty fun, like kind of hard to master, like a little bit. It's definitely its own sort of style. And because I'm a bit bigger than most riders, I'm 6'2", most wakeboarders are sort of small gymnast kind of types.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I kind of struggled. I got KO'd a few times trying those. But got a few of them. But so when you're talking about going to Penrith and kneeboarding and stuff, so is
Mm.
this pre-injury, like, because actually,
Pre-injury. So I would have been there. I went there in 2000 and yeah, I was in year 11, so it was 2002 I was there.
so that
So,
that must have
yeah.
been right before it closed down. because when I was there in 2003, it was closed. It wasn't there anymore. And then it
Ah,
reopened some years later. I don't know how long later, but maybe 5 years later, it reopened. But I mean, it's just there's a handful of different, you know, sort of types of wakeboarding. You know, there's a traditional behind the boat. You got cable riding where you use the line tension as you go around the corner, as you mentioned. And then there's the more sort of rails and features, which same on cable, but also on sort of winch setups. And then it kind of went even bigger from there when the 2.0s started, and that's when you could have multi-level sort of riding systems where you'd have like a step up into a pond that's like a couple of meters
yep.
above the lake, and then a step down or down rails. And so the 2.0 is just a cable that goes back and forth rather than around in a circle around the lake. So it's just one rider at a time, which is what led me to the big air wakeboarding that I was doing, sort of when I ended up having my accident and jumping forward a bit there. But
No,
yeah,
that's all
it's
good.
cool that there are these different sort of disciplines within wakeboarding, and you can find your niche. And for me, like, there were times where I was decent competitively, but I think for me, my niche was just pushing the limits and trying to like land new tricks that no one had done before or go bigger than other people have
Yeah,
gone in different ways.
and that's what, looking into some your achievements and that, and what you should be, very proud of what I've seen when a lot of the youngsters these days, or people in general, NBDs, never never been done. And it seems like you achieved a few of those, like whilst you were wakeboarding, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of NBDs, I probably had like two or three like legit. No one had ever done anything like it. Like I was one of the first to land a 1080, and I was the first to land a regular
Yeah,
stance
right.
1080. I don't know if that's kind of a blurry NBD because other people had done tens before, just not that specific type of 10
Still, that's an extra
in that
turn.
stance. Yeah. But then the step up that I did where I found a spillway that was like pretty big, like it was maybe 3 or 4 meters high, and it was about a 20-meter gap that I had to
And
build a
can you
ramp.
explain what a spillway is? Like,
So if you got
I've got,
like
yeah.
yeah, you got like a body of water that then it's like a dam, but it's more of a sloped concrete sort of dam that the water just kind of spills over the top when it gets to a certain level. And then
Hmm.
you'll have a lower, at the bottom of the spillway, you'll have another body of water where it runs off to. So, at that point, if people had done a lot of sort of drop downs, they'd find spots where they could jump off something. Whereas this, putting a ramp at the bottom of such a big spillway and jumping up it was something that was, no one had really done at that point. And then later in my career, I think I was one of the first to land a toe-side double back roll off a kicker. But again, Chad Sharp had done it off a double up before that. But then, yeah, when it came to the mega ramp, that's when I started landing double tantrums, like double backflips. And then the main NBD that I did was the double tantrum to blind, which I landed once, and then that's the trick that put me in a wheelchair.
Okay, so you landed it once, and then obviously your second attempt, whenever you gave that a crack, that like what? So what did that look like? Was it like, so leading up to it? Like, was it just, that extra turn slipped out? There can be multiple reasons, but it
Oh,
happened,
you mean
and
the crash
that's tricky and
itself?
hard. Yeah, the crash itself, like,
Yeah, so I'd I'd learned the double tantrum, the double backflip, and that was just sort of doing the first half of a single flip really fast and then opening out so that I could like cruise through the second half of one flip
I get
really
you.
slowly.
Yep.
Like, you're watching gymnastics. If you're on a trampoline, you could tuck into a flip and you spin really fast and then you open out and it slows it down.
Yeah,
So
that's
same
it.
sort of
Ease
thing.
out.
And then it was as I open out, I'd be like, okay, and I count about 1, 2, 3. Okay, I got enough time that if I stayed tucked, I'd do a second flip. And so that was at Lake Ronix. We had a step up set up there, big kicker. So I was doing it up into a raised pond. So it meant I could go big, but you're sort of landing quite softly because you're landing at a higher level than you took off from. So you're not having to
Mm.
drop down as much after the trick. But then we had a mega ramp set up. So this is a smaller kicker coming out of the pond that's elevated. And then in the lake level, which is a bit lower down, we had a massive landing ramp similar to your freestyle motocross ones, but not,
Yeah.
unfortunately, not the inflatable ones that they have now. The old school kind of big, just solid structure.
Yeah.
We had a
Yeah.
big
Big
wooden
pile of
one that was
dirt.
floating.
See, I'm
Um,
thinking about this in sort of skating terms because I used to skateboard for a long time,
yeah,
So,
so similar
because I'm
to
thinking
your mega
step ups,
ramp.
yeah, but you got Euro gaps like when it's step up.
Yeah,
It's all
and so
similarities but different.
this was a step down out of the pond, and then over a land gap, and then to land on a big landing ramp. And so again, it meant you could go big, but then you've got this slope ramp to land down, so it kind of softens the landing. And I was at an event in Germany, Rising High, and that's where I landed the trick. And it was the only other place that had a mega ramp. So you had one at Rising High in Germany, and then we had one at Lake Ronix where I was living, and I was managing the place. I was on-site manager, and it
And
was
where
our
you're
training
living and where was
facility
that again?
in just outside Orlando.
I was outside Orlando.
Um,
Okay, okay, okay.
and that's where I had this mega ramp in my backyard, so I kind of had this cheat code going into Rising High to get some proper practice in that no one else really got apart from couple some of my teammates. And so yeah, I was landing the double tantrum over the mega ramp, and then I just decided to try and go blind on it, so you land backwards. So backside 180, and came close a couple of times. I think it was like fourth or fifth attempt. I ended up landing it. Didn't land it in the actual event. It was just in practice. I think I got fourth in the event. But then back at Lake Ronix, I was trying to repeat it for a movie that we were filming, Prime. Biggest film of the year. We had our Lake Ronix section, so any trick I wanted in the movie had to be landed at Lake Ronix. And so that's where I was trying it again. Was getting really close, but just something kind of went wrong off the top of the ramp, and it spooked me a little bit. I was trying to go a bit bigger so that I could have time to land over my board a bit more solidly, because I kept kind of landing and getting pulled back over my heels. And yeah, and so I just kind of cut a bit harder, pushed off the ramp a bit taller, and the combination of the two was too much. Like I'd gone bigger than what I'd expected. So at that halfway point in the first flip, I opened out, and that was sort of my bailout point. If I bailed out early enough, I could stop it and do a single flip rather than committing to the double.
It's always tricky
But
too because you're attached to it. You can't. It's not like you can kick it away the board
yeah, I
too.
mean,
So
you can throw the rope, but that's not going to really help. That line tension when you're hanging onto the rope, it actually kind of helped. Well, in theory. So I opened up, I realized I'd gone too big. And by that point, I realized I'm also going to over rotate and probably land on my back or my head. So I still had the rope in my hand and still line tension on it. So I tugged on the rope and turned the flip rotation into a spin. And I was like 90 degrees short. So I did 3/4 of a spin.
all
Had I
right.
completed that, I would have been fine. I probably would have crashed, maybe minor injuries, but the fact that I landed toes facing down the ramp rather than the nose of the board facing down the ramp
I
meant I
see.
was
Yep.
tumbling straight down, and we got it all on video.
Far
Pretty
out.
gnarly crash. I tried to sort of roll out of it, tucked and rolled, got my head under, but not my shoulders. And it just like smashed my head down into my chest and smoked my C4 vertebrae, and I was knocked out. And yeah, chaos from then on. It was, and I don't know what your sort of memories are of how you ended up in the chair, but just waking up and the chaos going on around me, like getting flipped over. I was face down in the water. I wasn't breathing. The first guy to get to me thought I was dead already. Blue in the face, eyes wide open, non-responsive, not breathing. Just gnarly, man. For my friends to go through that and see me go through that, and they managed to get me pulled to the shore, and first responders got there within about 10 minutes, and then probably 15 minutes later or so, the chopper came in and picked me up, took me off to hospital.
Yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, mine wasn't as full on as that. Like when you're talking about flipping through the air, like, yeah, I did jump through the air, but snap me neck at. Well, I'm fused from C4 to C6, but same thing, that I was face down in the water, and yeah, a bit of the chaos, But it's weird just seeing the fragments of, like, closing the eyes and reliving little bits and pieces of it. And the same thing, I was chop it out. Not from that point. I had to go to one hospital and they couldn't, they're just like, well, he needs to go here and somewhere more equipped. And then they flew me off. So that's the only helicopter ride I've had in my life. But anyway, I'll get in another one day. They make them bloody accessible. But that's another topic for another time. But yeah. But so going through that, and your body just doesn't know what to do. All your body's trying to do is, survive, essentially. Plus the people around you are, like, they're trying to make things work for you as best as possible to make sure that you're safe. But so where did you get flown to? And, like, because you're getting surgery done were you in Florida? Do they have a main spinal cord rehabilitation hospital? What's their setup over there?
Yeah, so I was flown to Orlando Regional Medical Center. It's one of the main hospitals there. I was in the ICU for about 5 weeks. They had me on a ventilator. I don't remember the first week at all. I was awake and alert, but I don't remember it. I don't know if it's some
Mm,
protective thing that my brain is just like, nah, or possibly because I had like a pretty heavy hallucination. My temperature spiked to 108 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's about 42 degrees, which you're bordering on brain damage sort of material there if you're in that
that
state for
is
too long.
crazy high.
And so I had pneumonia. I was on a ventilator, all that. I've been through a 9-hour surgery to piece my neck back together. I think they put a cadaver vertebrae in because I just completely destroyed mine. So they had to snake one from a recently deceased person to put in my neck.
Yeah, right.
Um, and then, yeah, and then there was just this hallucination. It's horrible, but like I've detailed it all in my book. And I guess that's one thing with writing my book. I've relived all of these experiences so deeply because I spent so much time in them, remembering and going over it all. And so that was kind of healing, I guess, to go through that. But
Mm,
in the moment, I thought I'd been kidnapped. I thought I'd been left for dead. I didn't know why I couldn't speak. I couldn't speak because I had a ventilator in. I didn't know why I
mm,
couldn't move. I thought I'd been drugged, or I don't, I don't know. It was gnarly. And then the next morning, so I remember that, and the next morning is the first kind of conscious moment that I remember after the accident, and that was actually the first thing I wrote when I started writing my book. Was that moment, that waking up and realizing what had happened. And yeah, and so I was there 5 weeks. They they got my pneumonia under control a little bit, like enough to then ship me up to Atlanta, where there's Shepherd Center. It's a dedicated spinal cord injury unit up
yeah.
there.
I used to
So
read
they
about
flew,
that a long time ago.
yeah, they flew me up there in a Learjet, and Yeah, when I got up there, they really went hard to get rid of my pneumonia, and I got rid of that within a few days. And then
Mm.
they gave me targets because when I was in the ICU, they started to try to wean me off the ventilator. And like when
Mm.
they, at very first they maybe do a couple of minutes or 5 minutes or something maximum, and then put you back on. And I'd had some moments where the ventilator had just popped off, like, and I'd be laying there alone, and I'd suddenly trying to
Oh,
breathe
you're
on
trying
my
to
own.
sprint, breathe. Far out.
Oh, it was gnarly, but alarms go off and the nurses come in pretty quickly. So, but then I think
Still,
that had
when you
given me a
got
little bit of
reduced lung
practice.
capacity, you know,
Yeah,
that's
that had given me
hard.
a little bit of practice of like knowing that I could kind of breathe on my own a little bit. And then, so they weaned me off the vent. They give me the first time weaning off, and I managed to go for 45 minutes, and which is like crazy. That they only let me do that because of, I guess, who I am and how confident I was and what I was doing and how comfortable I was breathing. They had the respiratory nurse with me right there,
Oh,
and
so
so
you
I'd
were in
like,
the realm of where they thought you could have been a ventilated quad instead of to where you
yeah,
are now. Yeah,
yeah, that
right. Yeah.
C3 4,
Yeah, you're in that
and
range.
yeah, and so that was full on, like, went
Yeah,
for
it's
45
scary,
minutes, and
man.
then the next day, respiratory nurse comes back in. They're like, "All right, you're ready to go." I'm like, "Hell yeah, I'm going to do an hour." And then I get to 40 minutes, and just something, I don't know, overwhelmed me, or like, because I had this pneumonia, my airway would close up a little bit, get gunked up, and whatever it was that caused it, I just started to get a little dizzy. And again, I still couldn't speak, but I could mouth, what I was saying, and the nurses were getting pretty good at reading my lips. So I turned to the nurse and I was just like, I don't feel so, and flatlined. My
What?
heart
Yeah.
stopped,
Wow.
everything, like, in front of my mum, uh, and like chaos. They call in the nurses, and I mean, I don't have
Say
no idea
that
what's
again.
going on. Apparently, the nurse jumped up on me, started doing CPR right then and there, cracked a couple of ribs. Um, and then I wake up and I'm looking up and I'm seeing nurse, 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 doctor, nurse, nurse, mum. And I'm like, well, there's one person that doesn't need to be here right now. So I told
Yeah.
mum to leave. That was the first thing I said, was leave, to my mum. Just because I was like, well, she's sure. I understand she's probably pretty concerned, but she doesn't need to be leaning over me right now when the doctors need to be.
Yeah.
And
And
so
it's
that was pretty
almost like you're trying to
spooky.
protect her too, because she'd be spinning out,
Yeah,
seeing her son on the table and
exactly.
all this stuff going on.
Yeah, and just the look in her eyes, I was like, "Fuck, she does not need to be here for this."
Far
Um,
out, dude.
and then so yeah, they limited me weaning off the ventilator until I got up to Shepherd Center, and they got on top of the pneumonia. Then they gave me targets. I think it was like 16-hour days off the ventilator. Like, if I can work up and get up to a 16-hour day off the vent, and then I had to do that. I think it was 5 days in a row. And then after the fifth day, they put me back in the ICU at the spinal unit, so I could be monitored overnight off the ventilator. And then as soon as I completed that overnight and I'd done 24 hours off the ventilator, they took the machine out of my room. And a couple of days later, or I think it was that day actually, they just pulled the trachea out of my neck, and took a few days to close up. But
Oh,
yeah, and
God,
then I
I
was there at
hated
the
having one
spinal
of them
unit
in.
I was there for 3 months before I was able to be sort of flown home.
And see the Shepherd Centre, look, and this is me going years back reading about this place, but what I read back then, and this is early days, so like I had my accident in 2010, but so in those first initial years, because you're looking at new sort of medical interventions and stuff like that can help people with
Yeah.
spinal cord injuries. But it would always, when I'd look in the States, it will always be the Shepherd Center. So is that like the premier spinal cord injury unit in the States?
There are two that we were looking at, and we actually had reps from both of them fly in to come and meet me and everything. And it's like they're trying to sell me a new car. Like they're trying to sell me on going to
That's yuck.
their rehab center.
Fucking
One's
hell.
Craig Hospital in Colorado, and the other one's Shepherd Center. So I guess it depends what side of the states you're on as to which one you go to. And then I was actually really lucky and ended up getting a scholarship to go to Shepherd Center, which usually costs it's at least a couple of grand a day. It would have been at least 300 grand
Yeah.
US
And
had
can
I
I
not.
ask, yeah, and that's what I was going to ask, right? Look, I know in Oz, like, this happens, like, you snap your neck, end up quad para, whatever it may be, or any sort of injury, like, the public health system looks after you. You sort it. No one's in medical debt. Not like the States where, you know, medical bills can, put you in the debt. People lose their houses, all this sort of carry on. So did you have any insurances to cover yourself, like whilst you're over there, or did you have to top it up? And their health system's crazy over there.
Yeah, I had nothing. I had absolutely nothing because before that, I'd done 10 years in the States before that, and I was only there 6 months every year, so I would use my travel insurance. But that last year that I was there, I'd finally gotten a performance visa, an athlete visa, so I could legally earn money through wakeboarding. I could stay for more, for up to 5 years. I didn't have to leave every 6 months, and because I was like going to settle over there, I was looking into what the options were. My travel insurance had just run out. I was looking into what, Obamacare or what, like what insurance
At the
options there might have
time.
been. And but I hadn't jumped onto anything. So that's one of the biggest things that I remembered from the beginning was how scared I was about how much this was all going to cost. Especially even just from that helicopter flying in to pick me up on the day of the accident. So I got very lucky, but we ended up. So I got to see both sides of it as well. Like, I had my first few months in the US. Majority of people there are all from the US. Talking about the insurance they got, and most of them had to have their personal insurance. I got very lucky that my stay in the ICU, for whatever reason, got covered by Florida Medicaid. And
Oh,
I wasn't
yep.
even a resident. I'm not even a resident, and somehow I got covered. And I'm hearing of other people that are
You're pretty
residents
lucky.
that didn't get covered, and I'm like, I have
Mm.
no idea why. And then, so for the ICU stay to get covered, and then to get a scholarship to be at Shepherd Center, so I didn't have to pay a dollar, and it would have cost over 300,000 US. Then, while I was because we looked into like the insurance route, like going, okay, what insurance, am I entitled to be potentially through like my sponsors and things like that. And we started looking into it, and this lawyer came and saw me and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't realize that I was suing my sponsors in doing that. I didn't realize that's how things worked over there. Like, if you're looking into what insurance or what things
Wow.
you can get, you're basically suing the parties involved. So
How'd you made that? Yeah, and
that's
how'd you
Ronex
feel when you found
Wakeboards.
that out?
Oh, well, I was wondering why some of my buddies and like the guys from Ronex weren't talking to me. It's
Oh,
because
no,
they
off ya.
legally were not allowed to because they are part owners in the company, and I'm suing their company. And
Wow.
it took a few weeks for me to figure this all out, and I was like, "Whoa, like that is
That's
not what I
wild,
want
man.
to do." And I told the lawyer, I was like, "Cease and desist. I want nothing to do with any of this. I don't care if I'm going to get $1 million or whatever. I do not want this." And the wakeboard industry, they'd been really good at fundraising and kind of get rallying around me. I just didn't want that sort of black mark on my name, and just it just didn't feel right. And then it was
Yeah, I'm
only
hearing
after
you.
that I ended up finding out that I was going to get covered by ACC New Zealand, which is like your NDIS or whatever you're like
Yeah,
your healthcare cover
NDIS.
over there.
Yep.
So we have ACC, which is accident compensation. So it's any accident. You could not be a New
Oh,
Zealand citizen. If you
yep.
fly into the country, you slip over in the airport and break your arm, all your medical bills are covered. Um, I was overseas, and basically, if you're overseas for a certain amount of time, or more if you're planning on being overseas for more than 6 months, I think it is, then if you get injured, you're not covered by ACC. And I was planning on being out for more than 6 months. We even tried to like say that I was, maybe going to come home after the world champs, which would have put me 6 months and 3 days. And there's no like ifs, buts, or maybes, no gray area. It's black or white. You're
Mm.
either in or you're out. So we
It's like,
managed to
come on, Prime
find,
Minister NZ, do us a solid.
we found a loophole, and it was really lucky actually. So Bank of America denied me a credit card in the US. So I applied for a credit card. They denied it.
Like,
So
when was it? So this is before the accident
yeah,
or after?
this is when
Yeah.
I was living at Lake Ronex. I was managing the property. I wanted to get a credit card so that when I was buying materials and shit to build ramps and rails and whatever I was building, I could then be reimbursed by Ronex into my bank account.
Yeah, fair
Because
enough. Yeah.
Bank of America denied my credit card, I was using my New Zealand card, and it meant Ronex, uh, they reimbursed me to my New Zealand bank account, which gave me a taxable income in New Zealand, which meant I would pay ACC levies, meaning I get covered by ACC.
Oh.
So it was
Yeah,
so
because then you're a
lucky.
taxpayer, like going back
Mm,
home. So then you're
exactly.
covered.
So
Far
I
out.
was so lucky to find that, and that was such a relief because we were just freaking out. Like this injury is not cheap, man. Like, I would have
No.
had several $1 million worth of cover in the almost 12 years that I've been injured, from equipment to, medical bills, medications, caregivers, all of that. And so hearing that in the States, like the care is usually dumped on the family. So the family has to look after you. Whereas over here, we get caregivers covered, paid for everything.
Same over
Um,
here. That's crazy. When you're talking about
yeah,
the land of opportunity and the way the carry on is up north, like, well,
yeah,
you know
it's
how
wild,
much
man.
goes into this. I know how much goes into this with the care components around it. That's
Yeah.
like how families just fall apart left, right, and center.
And like, if someone had good insurance, they might get some stuff covered like that. But what I keep hearing more and more of, like after several years, the insurance company starts pulling back and pulling back and pulling back and like going, oh no, we were no longer going to pay for this and not going to pay for that. And so, and I guess it's like in New Zealand with ACC, like there will be things that, will change or be hurdles or things that you got to kind of navigate, but you just got to know that you've got to defend yourself. Basically, you got to fight for what you need. And if it's something you can prove that is within your injury related need, then it's covered.
Mm.
Like, and if you have to, you can go to independent review. You can get someone from outside of ACC to make the decision. Then it becomes me versus ACC, and
Yeah.
we both present our case, and
Like
someone
you take them
decides
to a
it. So
tribunal or something. Like, is it a
yeah,
court situation? Yeah.
not quite. It's just independent review. So they've got like
Yeah. Yeah.
people that will look at it from outside, from a neutral perspective. But yeah, it's one of those things that I didn't realize until later in life. And this is an analogy that I use quite often in like my public speaking. So when I was in the spinal unit in the US in Shepherd Center, and I'm C4, I can't move my arms, I can shrug my shoulders, but that's about it.
Yeah. And can
So
you give, and your level of quadriplegia, just for the listeners and viewers, can you just give a quick detailed brief on just your level of quadriplegia and what you can and can't do? Like, because obviously, yep,
that's it.
shoulders, chin control.
Head, neck, shoulders, and that's it really. I mean, I've over the years I've kind of built up some better core strength. that allows me to, I can lean right forward, sit myself back up, and things like that if my arms are on the armrest properly. But um, yeah, C4 level injury, like I was so limited, like unable to, flex my bicep enough to even lift my hand off the armrest. And I'm in the spinal unit and I'm seeing other people around me with like slightly lower level injuries or even my level injury, but they start getting movement back and, they're pushing themselves in a manual wheelchair or they're learning to brush their teeth again or do things independently. And I was so fucking jealous, man. I wished I could have traded places with any of them right in that moment, and I would have done so. And then it wasn't until, I get back to New Zealand.
Mate, I'm
I'm in
hearing
the
you.
spinal unit there for 3 months, and then I moved to like an interim sort of spinal unit, or not a spinal unit, but a medical facility. And I met this young dude then who had a C2 level spinal injury through medical misadventure. He didn't even crash, fall, nothing. Went to the emergency room with a headache, got misdiagnosed, woke up a couple of weeks later, unable to move even his neck. He could only move his face. Like he's on a
Wow.
ventilator, using a chin control, all that sort of stuff. And I was like, it wasn't even until later on where I kind of look back and I'm like, oh
God,
my God, like
it's
in
heavy.
that moment, like I felt so grateful for being able to breathe on my own and being able to project my voice and having the little bit of independence that I did have.
Yep.
And it wasn't until later that I was like, whoa, hang on, like I've I've been letting my value that I put on myself, but also like my level of appreciation or whether I'm like thinking positively or negatively about myself, I'm letting that be dictated by who I'm looking at. And there could be a
Mm.
C5 or 6 level over this side and a C2 over here. And I'm looking over here and I'm grateful, and I'm looking over here and I'm ungrateful. And I'm like, but nothing's changed with me. I'm still the
Yep.
same, yet I'm letting what other people have dictate how I feel about myself. And so that was something that I picked up on. And I'm like, yo, I can't let these other people define how I feel about my life. It's that grass is greener sort of concept. Like it doesn't
That's
matter
how it is here
how
too.
green. Yeah, it doesn't matter how green someone else's lawn is over the fence. Like mine's
Yep.
not going to get any greener unless I work on it. Like if I put the work in.
Yeah, and
And
what was the
it's
weeks? Like you've gone ICU, so then you've done like the Shepherd Center and some of the like over in the States. So what was the whole period from ICU to the spinal cord injury
uh,
unit? And were they good at what they were doing when you're talking about the therapists and just how they tried to get you equipped to be a C4 quad with all the
so
different therapies and supports?
it was less than 4 months I was over there. So my injury was 6th of July, and then I think I flew home around the 20th of October. Um, and I mean the ICU it's an ICU. They're trying to
Yep.
help me survive.
Mm.
Once I was in the spinal unit, and then it was like I even had a minor pressure sore at that point that we had to kind of get on top of. I had to get off the ventilator. And once we got all that stuff, it
Mm.
was like I went into this spinal unit going, hell yeah, I'm going to fucking walk again. I'm going to get myself going. I'm going to prove these doctors wrong. That gave me a 1 to 2% chance of ever regaining upper limb function, let alone walking again. And I was so
Yeah. It's a
determined.
lot of people in that boat, brother.
And I got there, and all they're doing, like, sure, there was some rehab stuff, but their goal was to get me in a wheelchair and get me comfortable in a wheelchair
Mm.
and stable. I'm like, that's not what I'm here for. Like,
Yeah.
I'm here to get moving. Like,
Because the
let's do
reality
this.
of it is fucked. Like
Mm,
when it slams you in the face, and there is disbelief, 100%, and you're trying to grab onto any sort of percentage you can to try and
yeah.
get on the other side of things. So definitely.
And I lived in that mode of uh, like fight, trying to prove everyone wrong for
Mm.
about 3 years before I finally accepted what had happened and where I was, and that
Yeah,
I might
okay.
not have control over the outcome in terms of my physical recovery. But what I did figure out then, once I finally accepted it, is okay, what do I have control of here? And the main thing is my mentality, right? Like my attitude, my effort,
It's
my
huge.
actions. And a huge, huge part of that, and this is the biggest turning point, or one of the major turning points was, at the end of that sort of 3 years, I sort of had a bit of a breakdown. I just was working so hard and I just felt like I was getting absolutely nowhere. And I ended up back at the spinal unit for a couple of weeks. I had some pain issues going on with like my bowel care routine and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which we won't even go into, but that's just another
No, no.
horrible part of this injury.
So how far in were you? So are you saying you were 2 years in and then you went back to the spinal cord unit? Back in,
No, it's a
like where you,
3 years. This is the Auckland spinal unit, so it's just
oh,
the
so
local
3 years
one.
in your quad and then you've gone back to the spinal cord injury unit, but in
Yeah,
NZ, in
yeah, and
Auckland?
that was yeah, and so that
Yeah,
was just
okay.
for to address these like physical pain issues and like the dysreflexia that I was getting from the bowel care routine and just trying to
AD
get on top of
sucks.
that. Oh, it's
Oh,
horrible,
God.
man.
Yep.
And because I had kind of hit this rock bottom point emotionally, I was like, okay, I'm going to spend those 2 weeks while I'm there offline. I'm going to pretty much cut all
Good.
contact with anyone besides my therapist. And she wasn't even a proper therapist. She was a kinesiologist who just she was my therapist. We would talk. She had really good
Like she'd help
insight.
you out mentally like a psychologist, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And I just I'd read was reading a book, and that's actually kind of where I really started to dig into writing my book a bit more. And and I did a lot of reflection and a lot of like trying to figure out where to go because I was constantly looking back, going, I wish I could go back. I lost everything that I loved about,
Mm,
my life, physical ability, all of that stuff. And I was just spending so much time looking backwards. And you dwell in the past too long, that's where depression lives. If you dwell in the
100%.
future too long, that's where anxiety lives. Like you gotta
Yeah.
remain present, man. Like, and that's what I learned. It was presence. And when it came to my focus, it was looking forward, like not living in the future, but like not, okay, what are all these things I can't fucking do anymore? So,
Yep.
okay, well, what can I do? What am I grateful for? What do I have? Like what are the options out there for me? And that's where this kind of more positive mentality came about. Everything before that
Look,
was a mask. It was a
and
positive
yeah,
mask.
yeah, hearing you. And like when you're talking about what you have, so some people are fortunate, some people aren't in regards to supports, family, friends. Like, man, I had, this is something that still it gets me, but obviously life's moved on, and everybody's in different wavelengths of this. But just say, like, I'm grateful. I've got a lot of good support from family and friends, but this one particular friend, like, I've seen it happen to others where you have some friends like they'll just drop off the face of the earth. You think they're going to be there, your brothers, then they're gone. Like, and I'm like, well, how come that friend didn't come and visit me through the whole spinal cord injury unit or even years post injury? But you could go and see that friend that in jail that, brutally beat up this woman and was going to serve nearly 10 years for it. And me trying to reconcile that. And this was like with pretty much a brother of mine, and, that stuff hurts. Look, I had a lot of support anyway, but
Mm.
you've got factors like this that creep in. So were you fortunate and had a lot of support around you? And did you have any issues or situations with people where they just fell off the face of the earth?
The only people that dropped off that I kind of expected not to at the time were just a couple of girls that I'd known for several years. May have hooked up with or something before, but like with people that I'd become friends with, I thought we were friends, but they just disappeared. Only a couple. Um, all of my crew, all of my buddies, were there were awesome. I was very, very lucky to have that. And you know, and I just, it's very easy to make it about yourself when someone doesn't show up for you, but it's them. It's their own issues most of the time. It's them not being able to, you know, it could even be as simple as them being afraid because they don't know what to say. Like, you know, someone who you know, if they know that they can't say anything that's going to make this better, they shy away and they, you know, they don't, um, yeah, they don't want to put themselves in that position. And I was very lucky. I didn't really have any of those. There's been like one or two of my boys that I've sort of just drifted apart from over the years, and I guess it's understandable, because you know maybe the thing that we had back then was the active stuff that we would do together, whereas now I can't partake in most of those activities. I'm an observer. Yeah, like, and even those people, like, we're still friends with them. We just don't hang out as much. Like, we're still tight. We still love each other. Like, it's, yeah, I was lucky to have that sort of support, and that's where I go back to, like, you know, even Susie, who's my kinesiologist, therapist, life coach lady. She's all through my book. She was absolutely vital to my mental recovery,
That's good.
and
It's like whatever
and I
works,
look,
brother.
yeah, and it was like when I was reflecting and looking at like the situation I was talking about before, comparing, you know, people in the spinal unit, C5, 6 levels lower than me, more movement, versus this dude back in New Zealand with a higher level injury. And I'm like, you know, at that time, I would have swapped places with any of them that had more movement than me, but they may not have had a supportive community like I had in wakeboarding. They may not have had ACC, which they don't have ACC. They may not have had good
Yep.
insurance. They may not have had a guide, someone like Susie, to walk them through it. So that's where, you know, I felt like I was very fortunate, even though I've got less movement, I might actually be better off in the long run than some of these people I would have traded places with, because you never know what skeletons are in someone's closet, or what's hiding behind the mask, or the positive, like, you know, photoshopped highlight reel that they're putting on social media. It's
Yep.
it's easy to compare, and
Spot
you know,
on.
it's, but we don't know the full context of everything. So
That's
quite
what I
often we're
hate. Just
comparing,
assumptions. Assumptions.
yeah, and we're comparing like
God.
our entirety against the little part that we know of someone's life.
Yeah,
And it's not
correct.
a fair comparison.
No, you're right. You know, that's what drives me nuts. And it's funny, like, there's so many similarities, but things that are different that, you know, that you've talked about going through the ICU unit. And, you know, obviously, when it's got to do with myself, what I've gone through. But it's funny what, you know, the growth that you can find on the other side of things. And everybody's got their different path of what they can cling on to, you know, because the physical side, that's like minute. The majority of the struggle, this is personally for me, is, you know, it's the mental game, trying to balance that out. And everybody's got their own issues and this and that going on. But, and you're right, like every quad or para that, you know, that you have a yarn with, a conversation, they wish they broke the vertebrae lower, or you didn't end up going, and you're glad you didn't go one higher than the one that you are,
Yeah.
because obviously the less movement and nerve pain, and you know the ins and outs of it, everything that goes with it. But it's awesome that regardless of level of quadriplegia or tetraplegia or paraplegia that, you know, people are going through, it's good to see when individuals can cling on to something and where it's making it worthwhile for their life. Because the main thing is, brother, you're here, you're still breathing, you're enjoying life. And I'm glad that we can talk about this journey, because it's not easy either, like bringing this stuff up and what it can
Mm.
trigger. You know, it's the smells, the sights, what you touch, see, hear, or feel, all these tiny little things that bring back reminders. And it's still not easy, you know, the balance of it. and the outside noise as well, and what people assume, because there's mate, is it safe to say, like even at your level of quadriplegia, look, and you're out there enjoying life, you're giving it a crack, but you still have bloody haters coming in from the side, and like someone's always got something to say, which really gives me the shits. Do you ever cop that?
Yeah, very occasionally. I've got a really good community on social media. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time on like TikTok, for example. I
Oh,
feel like that's the type of place
good
where
man.
you get those sorts of just keyboard warriors kind of coming in and trying to be funny. I think is like everyone at the moment. Like I'm all for some comedy, and I'm all for a bit of dark humor as well. I think
Mm.
us in our situations, we need to lean into a bit of dark humor to be okay with taking the piss out of ourselves a little bit, like cracking jokes. If you meet a chick and you're like, "Hey, at least I won't run out on you," just like that sort of shit. But like if someone who doesn't know you, a complete stranger, comes in and tries to like crack a joke like that, I'm like, fuck off.
Yeah,
Like, come on, man,
100%.
that's not your place to say it. Like, if it's delivered in the right way, it's fine. It can be okay. But I just find like social media, especially, a lot of the time, everyone's trying to be the first to just crack that joke. Like, there's the most viral video that I ever posted, and it got a little bit of hate, or just not hate, but like just keyboard warrior troll comments. And it was
Mm.
me in my off road chair doing donuts on the beach, and I'd put the sound of like a V8 doing skids over top of it, and then it's funny actually because my one went semi-viral. I can't remember how many views it got, but then a buddy of mine, Mad Mike, I don't know if you're into drifting at all,
Nah.
follow the drift scene. So Mad Mike Woodette, he's like New Zealand's top Red Bull drift racer.
Yeah,
He
right.
gets given Lambos and McLarens to turn into drift cars. He's got a Formula One car at the moment that he's turning into a drift car.
Bloody
It's
hell.
insane. So he loves his rotary engines. So he reposted
Oh,
it, but he
yeah.
put the sound of his rotary over top of it, and it got millions of views. And then next thing I'm getting comments like everyone that was trying to be funny was like, "Oh, Stephen Hawking when he arrives at Epstein Island or something,"
Uh,
and I'm like, "Come on, man!" Like,
there's always one of them.
yeah, well, there was tens of, well, of just too many of these people coming in, cracking the same joke, thinking they're funny. But then there was one guy
Just
that actually made
shallow
a joke
people,
that I was
man.
like, "Yo, that's legit." Like, I gave him props
Yeah.
for it because the way like Mad Mikey names all his cars, and because he's Red Bull, so it'd be like the Mad Bull or the Rad Bull or someone, and so someone like, so it was always like the license plate was something like that, like Mad Bull, Rad Bull, whatever. And then
Brad Bull.
someone comments disable, and I was like,
Ah,
"Hey,
nice.
that was pretty good. Like that
Yeah.
was, respect." Like, and so I don't know. I just feel like when it's more so, I guess, the fact that these people, their comment is immediately Stephen Hawking, which is a completely different disability,
Mm.
like so far beyond, what a spinal cord injury is. Like, obviously, we're both sitting in a similar wheelchair, and that's the only, similarity, losing
But
the
there's
use of our
so
bodies.
many
But
variations, though. You know,
yeah, and I'm just like, oh,
people don't
come
get
on,
it.
like it's just a lame. Like, put some effort in. And like,
Yeah.
if someone makes a joke that they've put some effort into, I'm like, all right, like,
Have a crack.
respect.
And,
But
mate, and do you,
I'm pretty
and when
lucky
you,
with trolls.
yeah, that's good. And when you're jumping in, because is an X8 the one that you've got? Is it a Magic Mobility off-road
Yeah,
chair, your X8?
yeah.
Yeah.
I timed it terribly, man, because I've got an ambassador deal with Quantum, and I got the X8
Oh,
like
dude.
a few months before they came out with their version of it. So maybe down the track I'll swap it out for an Outback. But they're similar chairs. I love
Brother,
it.
but
Like,
yeah, well, you got to get where it's, if you got something that can get you on the beach or bush or, I get in these chairs and stuff like that to have a crack, so you want to push
yeah,
the barriers. You don't want to get, say, the chair in now on, because that's what I used to get the shits with. You get to the edge of the sand all the time. You're like, man, I stuffed up though royally far out. I was in Tasmania at the start of the year, and I thought far out, man. I went down this dirt path, and it was down this steep hill, and got to the bottom, and it started pissing down rain, and I went to turn and got stuck, and man, my missus, because they couldn't find me either, so I'm down at the bottom of this hill yelling out, going, "Hey!" And
Yeah.
so my missus and the sister-in-law come down and had to push me up this hill, and I'm like, "Jake, what were you fucking thinking?" But I just thought, but it's hard too, because you want that freedom and lease, and you're like, and when I got to the bottom of that mountain, because I'm looking at all the ocean, the rocks, and I'm like, man, I feel free in that moment. But man, that lasted 5 minutes
Man.
until I fucked up. Hey,
Yeah. And it's just that, like, just being able to be on your own for once and like
100%.
exploring something, on your own. It's like
Yeah,
you were constantly got caregivers hovering over us and
that's
people
it.
there, like, and they're all got the best intentions and we need the help. But there's times where it's just like, man, yeah, I just want that freedom. And since getting a dog a few years ago, and like yesterday, I went for a little mission, and kind of went for
I
a cruise
love the
with him.
look of
But I
that
can't
dog,
go.
man.
Oh,
Australian
he's so
Shepherd,
cool.
yeah?
Yeah, mini Australian or mini
Oh,
Aussie.
mini version. Yeah,
So, well,
right.
he's a big mini though, so he's like a medium. Technically, they're called mini American Shepherd because the Aussies
Right.
is an American breed.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's weird.
It's just strange, but no, he's awesome, and I love being able to go and take him for little walks. But there are times where I like, if he gets a bit excited, and I drive my chair the wrong way, I could like accidentally roll over his lead, and then I have to
Yeah,
get
I'm
some
hearing you.
some random person to come by and help untangle it, or if I've only tipped my chair over once. It was my
Oh,
X8. Uh,
oh,
that was
that's a
being
heavy
an
chair.
idiot. Being an idiot trying to drag shit. You want to be useful, right? Around, especially on a lifestyle property. I can't do shit
Yep.
except drag tree limbs that were cut down to the burn pile behind my chair. And I was doing that and it was fine. I got through them all, but there was one that was only pushed over and it wasn't actually cut free from the roots. So I tried to pull it, it didn't go, so I backed up, gave a bit of slack, gave it a bit more, and then it just like tipped my chair over, hit the deck. I was pretty lucky I didn't break anything on me
Oh,
or the
that's what I was
chair.
going to ask. You were sweet?
Um,
Like,
yeah, and it was on grass too, so I didn't get
oh,
knocked out.
good.
I hit my head pretty hard, but um, yeah, and then that's as you say, it's like
Oh, I'm knocking on wood. I've never tipped
these.
my chair over.
Oh wow,
Well, not
yeah, that
yet.
was the first time. Um, but no, I think it's that independence, that freedom that we get is super important to grab little bits of that where you can, and
And the mentality
it's
that you
just
had
having
beforehand, right? Like,
yeah.
so when
I
you're
was just
looking
gonna
at,
say having a phone's important, so you can
oh,
call for
super,
help if you need it.
yeah, and see where I messed up, I didn't have me phone when I was at the bottom of the hill. That one time.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Anyway, so when you know, wakeboard, mentality behind that, loading up for these jumps, and just the feeling of like before, training leading up to these jumps, like the adrenaline, right? So, and looks to me that you still chase that. So, do you still bring that same mentality? It still comes out no matter what you're pushing for. And how long did it take you to get back into the water? I know it took a long time for me, but how was it for you?
Um. What was it? 3 years, I think. What was it 3 or 4? It was one of my trips back to the US where I got in the water. And that's where I kind of like got dunked under and held under for a little bit, held my breath, and then since then I started getting into free diving and I've built up to like a breath hold almost 6 minutes. And like
Really?
um
That's
I
awesome,
haven't done
man.
it I haven't done it for a couple of years. I've had a couple little dives, but
That don't
I
matter.
was really into it like 5 years ago, and then COVID hit, and then I had medical issues, and so yeah, kind of few setbacks, but no, like love to push the limits and push myself because that was the first thing where I found progression again.
Mm,
Like all this rehab, all of everything, I wasn't moving forward. I was just felt like I was stuck still, and so being able to hold my breath longer and longer and longer, it meant a
that's awesome.
progression
6
again, and
minutes.
really gave me something to push for.
And you felt
And
like you were
even
getting
that,
that feeling again, like, and just
yeah,
not being
a little bit.
attached
But
to a
it's funny.
wheelchair or a
It's
bed, you know?
yeah, exactly. Floating was so nice, and but it was a bit different. It was pushing myself, but without adrenaline,
Mm,
because you got to stay real calm to hold your breath for a long time. So, but that's where being
100%.
in the wheelchair for all these years helped. Remaining calm in a chaotic situation where you've got no control. That I was a
Agreed.
master of that now. So, um, but like one thing that I really missed when you're asking that question before about wakeboarding, and I didn't realize it until I had my first near fall, and I nearly tipped out of my shower chair. And I was questioning. I felt real strange afterwards. I was questioning why I wanted to fall.
Hold on, you nearly fell
Like
out of
I'm
your
like,
shower chair, your shower commode.
yeah, and I was like,
Far out.
why did I want to fall? And it was because every single day of my life before that,
Ah,
I'd be trying a new trick, I'd be pushing myself, I'd crash, shake it off, feel alive, get back up, go again. Like crashing and failing and falling was part of my everyday. Um, and yeah, it was just weird. I was like, why did I want to fall? Even though I knew had I fallen, I would have had no control over how I felt, and it probably would have been pretty bad.
mm,
Um, but yeah, it's just recognizing those things and the way that life used to be, and trying to find different versions of those. I think is kind of a big part of the journey, and even just that little bit of time outside, just going for a cruise with my dog. That's kind of my refresher every day.
hearing you.
Um, yeah.
And you should give yourself a big ups, man. Like 6 minutes. God, I know plenty of bloody uprights, able boards that can't bloody hold it for that long. But
It's funny. I when I came over to Oz, I think it was my
yeah,
first trip to Oz, first or second, I can't remember. There's a
post injury or
breathing, yeah, post injury. There's a
yeah,
breathing coach, James
Gary.
Fletcher. He goes, no, James Fletcher. He goes by Fletcher Techniques.
Oh, righto.
Um, or he's changed his name now on social medias, but um, he came and saw me because I'd just started getting into the freediving then, and apparently, I can't remember if it was like my inhale strength and lung capacity was at the time better than the top Australian Olympic backstroke swimmer.
Wow.
Um, Obviously, the exhale wasn't so great. Like we got
Quad
no core
strength.
strength to, but like there was something about that,
That's
the athlete
awesome.
lungs from before, and just the way I was pushing myself. But yeah, just like I don't know, freediving is something that I want to do more of. I love getting out, and especially when you're out in the ocean, you're seeing like fish swimming by and stuff.
Oh,
It's pretty
100%.
epic, but it's very like I got a lot of trust in my friends
And in
because they're the
saying
ones
that,
bringing me back up.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Because, so when it comes to, so when you're doing all this, you got a mix of friends. Is it certain, have you got trusted support workers that are helping you out? And if you're ever going on a trip and, if it's a form of, if it's respite or whatever you call it over in, underneath the scheme that you're under with the insurances to cover certain things, are they open to, like, if you need extra hours for support because you're going somewhere to, you're working on your breathing capacity, it's a form of physio and form of, you know, like the mental and physical load of how it can help you in all sorts of different ways. But so when it comes to the dollars and cents, will they provide, the right support so you can do these trips under these schemes? And do you
some of
have to
it,
battle with it?
like if I want to travel, then my caregiver gets paid for their hours while they're traveling with me. I have to pay for their travel though.
Mm-hmm.
and accommodation and all that stuff. Um, if it was like a short trip, or if it was something that required maybe a second set of hands, they might allocate some extra hours. They probably wouldn't pay both caregivers 24/7, because they just assume that one's covering for part of the time and the other one's covering other parts of the
Yeah.
time. But
Yep. Fair
yeah,
enough.
it's yeah, I mean they're pretty good. There's always the little battles that you kind of have to push for what you need, but um, yeah, I've definitely found, like, with my crew for wakeboarding, I've got, like, my close buddies that sorry, not wakeboarding, freediving. Um, Close buddies that are into it, or maybe they're into spearfishing or something like that. But then I've found some proper freedive crew that help out as well as safety
Oh,
divers,
that's
and
cool.
I'll have a scuba diver down there with me just in case, which I've never needed to jump on their spare regulator and breathe from the tanks. But yeah, it's just another thing. I got to get back into it. I need to make the most of the summers
Yep.
and get out. But as you get older, all your friends that you do it with, they're starting to have kids and get married
Yeah.
and all. It's harder to kind of pull these things together, but it just takes a bit more work.
Yeah, it does. And can you talk to the viewers and listeners like how important it is to have like a good support worker or support worker crew like in and around spinal cord injury?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, I've got a good team of caregivers and support workers. I still have my frustrations with all of them, as I always will, like as anyone would if you're
Mm.
sitting back and someone is doing everything for you. We are constant observers. So we're
Yep.
like, I find I'm watching like a hawk, and I've got to like give them leniency sometimes, because I'm on top of them if they do even the littlest thing wrong, where I've got to
Yeah.
kind of give a little bit of leeway and know that they are human,
Patience,
they do make
patience.
mistakes and everything. And that's a tough one.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, it's huge, especially finding some good ones that are like the core part of the team. I've got one caregiver that's been with me since day one.
Hundred
Over
is,
11 years
and
now. So
that is like, and they're hard to come. I wouldn't. Yeah, they can be hard to come by. Just because sometimes you have things happen in people's lives and they move on and this and that. Myself,
yeah,
I've got someone that's been with me for 14 years. Very lucky. So, what does that mean to you when you've got that one key support worker, and because they know you and they know all the different mechanics, whether it's got to do with the physical, the mental, and how
exactly,
that
man.
can
It's
assist you.
stability, but also like just general stability in life, knowing that you got someone consistent and that you can rely on there, but also um, mental stability for myself. Like if I'm even when I like, because we have to be so on top of things for our own health. Like any little mistake could cause a pressure sore or could cause an injury or
Big time.
something. And so we got to, I was taught very early on that you got to be we got to be our own biggest advocates, and we got to speak up when things, aren't being done right. And so most mornings, I'm even 12 years on, I'm still having to remind this and that, and can you do this the right way and that the right way? And some of it could be like colostomy bag related or catheter bag related,
Mm.
that could cause infection, or like just things we need to be on top of. And it
Yeah, you
is
got to
so
be
nice to
meticulous.
have, it's nice to have mornings when I've got, because I get a double up of staff for showering to help get me
Yep.
up. And it's so nice when I've got a morning where there's two competent staff on, and I can just sit back and I can close my eyes and I can enjoy the shower, and I don't have to be on someone's case about something. Um, but it's stressful, man. It's, when you got people driving for you and you're sitting there like with
I'm the
zero
worst
ability
backseat
to,
driver, brother. I'm hearing you.
oh my God. Like, and again, I feel
Because
for
it's
my
that loss of
carers.
control.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And just knowing, like, I was a pro athlete before. I was a good driver. Like
Mm.
I was not only competent as a driver, but courteous and would think of others around me, indicate when I needed to. Like, and it just drives me mad when people don't. And it just, yeah. So I have to remind myself, I'm like, I am a constant observer. These people are just trying. But there have been times where I'm like, almost like, turn around, take me home. I do not feel safe with you driving me. Um, yeah.
Brother, that happened to me a few weeks ago. I just got my car back yesterday
Mm,
because she just, anyway, rammed up on the left hand side, smashed that panel, bent over a stop sign, done all sorts of damage. And then on the way back to my office where I work, because I'm like, I still got to get back to work. I'm leaving a shopping centre. I'm like, keep going.
mm,
And there's a reason why I pipe up, because there's been reasons before when I've, got individuals to keep me out of harm's way, because you still want to get out and about, because you can't bloody do it yourself. And then on the way back to the office, and then when we go to pull into the bloody driveway, scrapes the bins on the opposite side. So I had to get 4 panels replaced. Hey, and that's the first
yeah.
time that's ever happened in 15 years since I
Mm,
post injury, but it happened. But there's a reason why you got to advocate for yourself and sometimes pipe up to keep yourself and
yeah.
others out of harm's way. But do you feel like you're, outside of your support system, if you're out in the community or if you're talking to, the ACC or that insurance mob you're talking to or clinicians or people in general, like you're constantly, justifying yourself about your disability or just certain things along those lines, or you're constantly educating people on certain things, and you sort of have to in a way, and it's a good thing, but it can become tiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, totally. I mean, even, I don't know if you saw like my most recent posts in the last couple of weeks where, I was having catheter issues and I've come to find out that the catheter that I've been using got changed by the company and they didn't fucking let anyone know. And like my
Oh,
urologist
yep.
or my suppliers or whoever it was, there was some break in the chain of communication. And the next thing I'm having these balloons fail on the catheters and I'm ending up
Oh,
in
wow.
hospital and calling ambulances and stuff. And so then I'm like, piping up about that. And then I'm getting all these people like, oh my God, I used the same one. Like, are you kidding me? Like, no one told me, like all these different people
That's awesome you
and
put
just little
that
stuff
out
like
there.
that. And yeah, and just like educating people as well. And even sometimes like I've had cases where I've kind of had to educate people on the way to appropriately speak to someone in our situation. Like I'll have, I was out having a beer with a couple of my mates and you
Mm.
get the slightly older woman comes in, oh my God, it's so lovely to see you out with your friends and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? Am
Fuck
I supposed
yeah.
to just stay at home and hide
Yeah.
away? Like, I'm
Sit in a
still a
corner.
fucking human being and I'm
100%.
still allowed to be out with my friends. And the way, like, there'd been times before that where I had a similar way that someone had approached me and you brush it off and you're like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, thanks, whatever. This time I was like, nah. And this woman was a bit older. And so I flipped it on her and I was like, oh, same with you. It must be so nice to be out at your age and blah blah. And she was so shocked. And
Oi!
I'm like, yeah, that's what you're saying. Like that's how it comes across to me. So like I appreciate that you're coming from a positive angle, but toxic positivity in that way is not I don't receive that well. Sorry. Like, I don't know. Most of the time I've had really great interactions with people in the community. One, though, which blew my mind in two different ways. Like, there was the small way where I was like, oh, yeah, still got it kind of thing. But most of it, like 80, 90% of it, I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I was on a first date with someone,
Right.
and a random woman comes up and kisses me. I'm sitting at the dinner
I,
table,
so you're
first date,
talking, and she's
on
in
the
front of you,
lips,
and this random comes from B lines, and then bang.
grabs my face, bang, not even a word. And
Really?
I was like, are you
Fucking.
like, if that was the other way round,
Oh,
that'd be a
man.
sexual assault charge.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
and
nuts.
I kind of put her in her place and she was she was foreign. I think she was Italian. It's a bit more like, they're a bit more kind of accepting of that stuff over there. And it was just but I was like, you have no idea what this person I'm on a date with is like. She may have insecurity issues, and
Mm.
you may have triggered something like, just, I don't know. It's mind blowing. But there was that still, as I said, that little bit of like, yo, still got it kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
And
uh,
whilst we're on that topic, brother, how's all that going? In regards to, and what's that journey been like in general? Like when it's got to do
dating's tough,
relationships
man.
and yeah,
It's tough enough as it is without being in a wheelchair,
mm,
or being in this situation. But like, it's been, honestly, I was blown away in the first couple of years at like the attention and affection and love that I got, but I wasn't in a place to receive it. I was not in a good way. I was wired the way that I used to be wired as a 6'2" pro athlete who, you know, placed his value and his worth in the attention he got from women and stuff like that. And so, like, but yeah, in those first couple of years, there was like, a woman that I'd met, didn't know me at all before my accident, gorgeous, like stunning, absolute sweetest human, fell in love with me. I pushed her away. Like I didn't, and like I look back, I'm like, what the hell was wrong with me? But then there was this like other girl, and this is all in my book from before my accident. I dated
yeah.
her the year before my accident, and I was like, we were starting to hang out a little bit, but like we weren't together or anything or hooking up or dating. But I was sort of holding out for her while keeping this other girl at an arm's length. And
Ah,
then
right.
the girl that I was holding at an arm length then moved on, while the girl that I wanted didn't seem like she was getting any closer to wanting something with me. And then so I kind of like realized I'd screwed up. And then the girl that I had actually wanted, that I dated from before my accident, we ended up dating again. And but I also realized that kind of the reason I pushed this, or part of the reason I pushed this other woman away, was because of the situation I was in at the time and the fear I had around accepting my injury and the reality of life now, and
Mm,
the desire to have what I used to have before. I'd placed on these women. So the girl that I had before, I was
mm.
like,
And
yo,
it's
if I can
hard.
get her back, then it's giving me this validation or everything
Mm.
from what I had before my accident. Whereas by accepting the love from this new woman, I felt like I was accepting this new version of me, and I wasn't ready to do that. So anyway, but then like, let's go to the last like what, 7 years. Dating's been brutal, man. Like very few and far between. And the moments where I have met someone, there was one where we just were a mismatch in like what was required of her for my injury.
Yeah.
Like like you think about like being intimate with someone before. It's
Mm.
like both people kissing, touching, taking clothes
That's
off.
it.
Like it's
Approaching
a
each
it's a
other.
joint
Yeah.
thing. Whereas
100%.
now this is her doing everything,
Mm.
and I'm a starfish. Like and so that just like confidence levels and stuff didn't match there. And then like the next girl I hit it off with, it was just this intense like week of just like together every day, every night, like just intimacy, love, passion, sex, like everything. And then poof, gone. Like back to the UK where she
Oh,
was back
jeez.
visiting from, and then she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna move back to New Zealand so we can be together," and then just ghost me after a few months of like
Far
long
out.
distance.
Pelican,
And
man.
then
Flies in, shits everywhere, and flies out.
dude, and then but it was like I really like to try to focus on the good as much as there's these emotions that come in when something ends. I'm like, I'd rather still have that week of just epic everything
Yeah.
and then have it disappear and the pain of it disappearing than not have it at all. And like, and even if it's like just a single date that I go on and it doesn't go anywhere, but if it's enough that it goes well and there's like mutual attraction expressed, then it's like, even if it goes nowhere, it's like, boom, there's a little spark to kind of carry on a bit of confidence. into the next possible one. And so, yeah, the last few years have been like a couple of basically just like same thing, a week of just like full on and then poof,
Yeah.
gone. One was, took up to the UK. The other one had a situation she had to go into rehab for, and then another one just recently, like one awesome date, but she's moving away. So it's like trying to focus on the good of it. Like, cool, I got an awesome one awesome date. It's better than no awesome dates, even though it went, even though it didn't go anywhere. Still got a little kiss at the end, but but a good feels. But I think for me, I guess I'm learning to reel in a little bit of that overexcitement that comes from the fact that it's been so few and far between. And then when
Mm.
you do have that connection where it's like, finally, okay, here's someone that I really am into who miraculously is not phased or not deterred by the injury and the wheelchair and all the struggles, like not immediately deterred. I'm like, this is so rare. I can sometimes feel that little bit of panic mode, that little bit kind of kick in where I'm like, if it, I don't know, it's just recognizing my own behavior in ways that
Yeah.
I can be better, or like try to pump the brakes a little bit here or there, or
It's hard to catch that stuff
um,
sometimes, though.
yeah, it is, yeah. But hey, that's it's just learning, and that's what I really focus on is learning from each experience and trying to be better. And you can't assume anything about other people based off your own fears, or I think it's just trying to find a way to carry confidence into those dating situations, and that's where I've found that through like I've got like a 3-step kind of thing. First step is
Yep.
grounding. Like if the shoe was on the other foot, I know I wasn't interested in dating someone in a wheelchair before my accident. That's just the reality. I wasn't open to it. So, and I wouldn't choose all of the struggles and barriers and challenges that come with this. I wouldn't choose
Yep.
this lifestyle. And to date someone and get into a relationship with someone, you're kind of choosing to share those parts of each other's life with each other. So I would completely understand if someone didn't choose this because I wouldn't choose this. And so that's the grounding to start with. And it's like, makes me more than okay with rejection,
Mm.
because I'm like, I would have rejected me too, kind of thing. And then there's the
Yep.
building up. This the second stage is like, but I am worthy of, even though there's these struggles and these challenges and everything, I am worthy of love. And there are women out there who might see what I have to give as something that they are looking for. Being open to that and not kind of putting too much of our own fears on other people, and just kind of being open to like, hey, if this doesn't work out, all you're doing is leading me to the next thing, the next good thing quicker. And then the third thing is just just being open to learning from each situation, take the good that you can from it, just enjoying the experiences that are there, and just finding a bit of confidence to put yourself out there. And you never know who'll you know jump at the opportunity.
Brother, you never know. That's the thing. The one thing you do know is that you got experience from these Italian snipers coming from the side to sort of land one on you, bro. So just next time, keep your eyes peeled. You got to
Oh
keep the
yeah,
head on a swivel.
yeah. And I gotta maybe warn the date that she's my protection. She's got to come in with the little elbows, or the little jab here or there if it's someone's coming in from left field.
Well, there's a lot of different topics that we've talked about and facets of your life, and where we can look at a culmination of this of like your book, like when it's called Owning It. So, owning it, what does it mean to you, and how long did it take you to write it, and how did you write it? Did you use voice technology? Like, just take us through it. So, those 3 steps, bud. That,
I use this thing on my phone. Usually my phone's here in front of me, and
yeah,
I can
okay.
type and text and stuff, but I use this. I could have dictated it, but like the book was written in first person present tense. So 16-year-old Brad is speaking from 16-year-old Brad's mind, not 20
Okay.
or 30 something year old Brad looking back, reflecting, and with all this new knowledge. Like I'm dumb, young, dumb, full of cum Brad, like just out there, the mentality that I had then. And that was really hard because I had to basically almost demonize myself. So people are reading the book and they're like, this guy's kind of a dick. Like, he's a bit of a womanizer. All he was doing was chasing women, like this and that. And like,
Well, a
and I
lot of
had
young
to do
blokes
it like
are.
that. No, exactly. But I did it that way to then show the drastic fall after the accident and the way that affected me mentally, and then how I had to go about sort of rebuilding my confidence, and how those relationships and things went after that, and how that mentality damaged things moving forward. And so it took me 6 years to write, from start to publish. It's about a year of edit and proofread at the end.
And what was the
Um,
average per date like? Because that's a lot of strain on your neck, and you're trying to think within the moment, sort of how you're going to structure it and
yeah.
write it, and plus
Well,
you
and
just
that's
chipping
why I couldn't.
away.
That's why I couldn't dictate it, because
Yep,
I was trying to be real creative as well, and like really think of different metaphors and different ways to describe what I was feeling, and so speaking it just didn't make sense. My brain wasn't working fast enough to rattle that stuff off. Plus, I'm sitting here with caregivers around and my brother in the other room, and I'm like writing about a sex scene. Like it didn't feel right, and I just felt
yep.
like chipping away, sort of like that pen to paper kind of feel. And then, yeah, but the book, writing it was so cathartic for me. It was like the final step in actually owning it. So I had to go through and relive everything deeply, like so deeply that I was in tears, like so much of
Yeah,
for so much of what I was writing. Um, but I was writing so openly, like did not give a shit what anyone would think of me if they wanted to judge me for the life I lived before, or my actions and decisions. Like so many biographies, that person is worried about that next chapter of their life, and like, am I going to ruin it by exposing myself in my book? And I was like, I don't care. That's what owning it is about. Like for me, by the time I finished the proofread, and there was about a month between the final proofread and when it went to print, and I've been never been more anxious sitting in that moment when the book, I can't touch or change anything anymore, and the book's about to go to print, and everything I've written about all these women and all these experiences and drugs and partying and mistakes I've made and all sorts,
but that's your life,
and it
man.
was just, at the end of the day, I was like, I got to take my own advice. Like, the book is called Owning It. I need to own this, and that's what I found when I stumbled across, the way I stumbled across that title was when I was in that rock bottom stage after 3 years, and I went back to the spinal unit.
Okay.
Acceptance was what I really struggled with, and I was like, and that's where I finally came about acceptance. But I was also like, accepting this kind of feels a bit submissive. It's not like something I can grab hold of, and I'm like, fuck yeah, like I'm just like, okay, like I guess this is what it is. It just felt kind of submissive, and I'm like, I need something more than that. Like, so I need to own this. I need to own everything that I am now, and everything that my life has been, and everything that's led me here. So yeah, that was kind of what got me past that anxiety. And like the moment it went to print, I was like, there's nothing I can do now. And it's out there. People can read it. They can judge me all they want. I've had a few bad reviews, but most people have read it and loved it. And if I could go back and change it, I might shorten up the first half a little bit, just so you get to the accident and you get to that stuff a bit quicker. But hey, that's what I wrote. That's what I put out there. It's what I thought was important, felt was important to put out there at the time, and it may not be that now, but that's where I was. And by writing it, putting it out there, that was the final step in owning it, and me going, well, this is it. This is me. Like,
Brother, that's your journey.
love it or hate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%, And that's so important you do it in your way, on your terms, and it's going through, you know, of the bad, the good, and the ugly. But the thing is, it's, those life experiences have got you to where you are today. And that's
And
and where
like,
and after that, man, like, so you've done that, you've gone through it, bad reviews, this and that, but what did you find out about yourself after writing it?
um, I found, or I learned that vulnerability has such strength in it, and like being vulnerable and putting myself out there, putting out the like all the old stories and leaving myself open to being judged. What I also did is I allowed others who had maybe felt similar way or had been through a similar thing to feel seen and to know that they're not alone in what they've gone through, and to know that someone else has gone through that and come out the other side, or someone else has been on that sort of journey. And there's so much strength in that vulnerability, but so many people are afraid of being judged that they're not gonna put that out there. And it's funny, like I think it was maybe 5 or 6 years into the injury, and I had a decent following on social media. My most liked post was a post that I put up about shitting myself that day. And it was just because of the way that I did it, the way that I framed it, the way I wrote the post. It was more just about like, yo, this is shit happens, like literally.
Literally, quad life,
And
it happens.
and even the comments I got from people, they're like, my husband's not even disabled and he shit himself a few weeks ago after a night out, or just stuff like that.
Yeah,
And it's just like even little things that, sure, we might be judged by shallow people, trolls, and fucking keyboard warriors, but the people that matter, they uh, take something from that vulnerability and they can find strength in it. So it's one of the big takeaways. That and get a dog.
yeah. And what
Life
did you?
advice.
Yeah, 100%. I've got one. She's a pain in the ass, but wouldn't have it any other way. But
Yeah.
so either people that don't have a disability or do, I know that where it has helped them, like with this book. So what's a good story that you remember from either a person with or without a disability of how the books helped them?
I mean, it wasn't much of a story, but I had more than one person message and say, if I didn't find your book, I might not be here today. Like someone that was in such a shit state in their life, and they found so much meaning and messaging and stuff in what I'd written that they decided to stay around. Like no amount of money, no amount of book sales or anything could top that sort of a message. And like I didn't make much money from writing the book. It's you get $3 a book or something. Like those messages of how it impacted people's life was what made it worth those 6 years. Um, and the vulnerability and the just everything that was part of it. So yeah, I mean, just conscious of time. We're coming up to 2 hours, and I got to go take
Yeah.
the dog for a walk
All
before it
right.
gets dark. So if you got
Right.
any more of those questions that are
Yep.
sitting
Yep.
there,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm pretty much at the end, brother. And what I got in mind because I don't want to encroach too much on time. But righto. So okay, look, there's no hope or guarantees when it comes to spinal cord injury and some of the cures and quick fixes and all that sort of stuff out there. You got probably one of the most recent. You got Neuralink, with Elon Musk, and some of the promises that are coming there. Look, and if I'm looking at one thing that might have promise, you got, well, he's a trillionaire now and he can throw money at it. Not like a lot of the other um, organizations that are involved in spinal cord injury cures that are tied to universities and they're reliant on funding of sorts and all of that. But what's your thoughts and feelings on it, brother? And are you involved in any of those bodies or advocacy or organisations at all?
um, to be honest, I'm not interested in having Elon in my head. I don't know. There's just something about that Elon having any sort of control over what this chip thing does, even if it's what it does with the information that it extracts, or I don't know. First of all, I'm not interested in being able to play chess with my mind. That's not going to change my life. I can play chess perfectly fine with my mouth stick. Like, you know, if anyone wants to line up and be a lab rat for that, let me know when we're at version 30 and you can actually do something that improves my life. Because I don't know. And I'm just very, very cautious around people like that. Like, yes, they have the money to put into it, but do I feel like they're taking it in the right direction and have every good intention with it? I'm not entirely convinced. The university studies thing is an issue. The fact that most spinal cord injury research facilities are walled off. They don't share any of their stuff. They don't collaborate because
They all
the
gatekeep.
universities are the ones they're putting the money in, so they want the money that comes out of it if they come across something.
Because they want the
I
Nobel
hate
Peace
that.
Prize, see?
I absolutely hate that, and it's something that I a while ago was going to start a foundation to try and encourage collaboration and across different researchers. I ended up not going through with it and just partnering with the Catwalk Trust here in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
They've come up with a way with at Auckland University, the research they do, a lot of the time they'll have to apply for funding. They say, this is what we're working on. This is the objective. This is where we're going with it. And it'll take however many years, might be 3 years, and then they can reapply for funding again. If they get a year in or 6 months in and they're like, actually, this is not going anywhere. And we've actually found that if we pivoted and went here, this is where things are looking really promising. They can't do that. They've got to wait until they reapply for funding and they've got to reapply with the new direction they're trying to do. So the cool thing that the Catwalk Trust have done with Auckland Uni is they've given them the freedom to pivot and to move and change. And,
Mm.
obviously they need to raise what the changes are, and then it needs to go through a bit of a process, but it's a lot more freedom and movability to head in the right direction. And they're also collaborating with like Spinal Cure over in Aussie,
Yep.
with the Perry Cross Foundation and like a lot of the studies that are going on there. So there is collaboration starting, and I'm all for that. But in reality, when it comes to a cure, I've moved on from that in
Mm.
terms of I don't live in the hope that one day I'll be able to move again.
Yep.
Like if that happened, cool. But my happiness doesn't rely on it. And that was the biggest thing that's helped me was I thought the only way for me to be happy was to move again. So the goal was to move again. But the real goal was just to be happy. And there are ways to be happy without moving again. And I just had to find those ways around it. And so as much as I will always support organizations working towards a cure, and I think most likely if a cure comes about, it'll be for someone else and
Mm.
not for me. It'll be probably a immediately after injury type of scenario. There might be something that comes along. But yeah, I'm living my life and finding my own happiness and not hanging on that hope. And I think that's really important to have that balance, to support it, to be like, cool, if something came along, awesome, but I'm good. Like, I'm okay. Sure, I have shit days and
Mm.
they happen quite often and they're really shit when they are really shit. But hey, like, gratitude is huge. We're going to focus on what we have.
100%.
Try and be as positive as we can, but also being honest and real. And yeah, I think I don't know. I don't know if I want Elon meddling around up in my brain.
See, I love how you
And I
put it
don't know
like
if
that.
honestly, I don't know if I'd be able to control a Neuralink thing well. I'm ADHD as hell. Like my brain's all over the place. And look, if I'm driving a wheelchair that uses brain control to drive, like I'm going to be crashing into gorgeous women that drive past me because that's where my attention's going. So I don't know. I'm
No,
I'm just trying to live it, man. And,
no. 100%.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. I'm like, yeah, if it comes along, cool, but I don't invest too much time in it. But it's hard when I see other people going through spinal cord injury, and they think they're going to be up and walking tomorrow, or it's going to be 6 months down from here, or they go to some unsavory sort of country, and because they hear that some sort of injection is going to get them to the next
Oh,
step. But
my
oh
first
man, it's
time coming to
scary.
Aussie was chasing some quack who thought he was going to get me buddy moving again. Some
Yeah,
dude
okay.
who's just, and he's been built up by these people who have gotten moving again to make him look like this shining god of bloody recovery, but he's a ripoff. He's a
No,
quack. He's just an absolute kook.
yeah, well, some
Um,
people just have just general, their regeneration just comes back naturally,
exactly. Like
just
you probably
happens.
got sent that same photo of the kid in the Red Bull hat with his arms up
Uh,
in the air, and they're like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's like, oh, spinal cord patient gets stem cells and moves again. It's like, yeah, directly after the injury, and you don't know what he was going to get back anyway.
yeah, and it
There's no
doesn't work
double
for
blind
everyone.
study. Yeah. So
Drives me.
anyway, I better bounce and go and take this dog for a walk. We'll let you sneak in one more question if you got one sitting there. Yeah.
No, hey, bud, appreciate your time. So I literally only had one more question. I want to know what's on the next chapter for yourself. But before we get into that, I want to know what you'd say, because you know what suffering's right, what suffering's about. Sorry, and we've touched on that and how it can build you up. But what would you say to young Brad, 27-year-old Brad, that was in the bed and going through the initial struggles from your perspective now?
I would first acknowledge how much it fucking sucks. I'd say, mate, everything you're feeling right now about how shit this is completely warranted, completely justifiable. But don't think that you won't have love, you won't have happiness, you won't have adventure, you won't have good people around you, and you won't have a meaningful life, because you will. And that is a choice. And it's something you got to wake up and choose every single day. Some days you may not want to, but that's it, man. It's a choice, and we need to get up and show up for ourselves. And yeah, I think it's mainly it's the same as how I would approach anyone as a peer support worker now.
Mm,
Anyone who's got a new injury, very conscious not to go in and go, hey, here's how your life is going to be, because I have no idea. I'm like,
mm.
hey, here's how my life has been. Here are some of the things that I haven't gotten back that I wished I had. Here are some of the things that I've been able to do that I never thought I would be able to do. So you know, there's good and bad. Get through the shit. Try to fight for as much movement as you can in those first few years. You know, do whatever you need to do to cling on to hope until you're able to accept it and move forward. And don't try to do it alone.
Beautiful, well
Accept
said.
help.
Mate,
Um,
80% of life is
yeah,
just bloody showing up,
yeah.
you know? Last question. So, what's on the next chapter for Mr. Brad Smeele?
Brad Smeele, the businessman. That's where I'm
Whee!
headed. Little over 2 years ago. So ACC, we get income support. So if you made 100 grand a year, they pay you 80% of what you used to earn for the rest of your life, or until you're able to work again.
Nice.
I made no money as a pro wakeboarder. So I was getting the minimum
Oh,
payout that they pay, which is not enough to survive on. For me anyway, with a mortgage and stuff. Um, so a couple of years ago, I was like, actually, I want to voluntarily drop off income support, and I want to earn my own income. So I don't need your money. Sure, I'll still have the support with caregivers and equipment and meds and all that stuff, but I just want to try to earn my own income again. And the good thing is, if down the track something changes with my injury and I can no longer physically work again or anymore, then my new payments are based off my new income. So that's kind of part of it,
mm,
is to, like, I'd love to be able to work for the rest of my life, or, get to a point where I'm able to retire, or, earn enough to live off and not have to rely on government funding. But if I do have to rely on it, I want that safety net to be big enough to support me in a realistic sort of fashion. And if that means family and, wife and kids and stuff by then, who knows? But yeah, so I worked for a little while, lost my job a year ago. And for the last year, my brother and I have been working on a new project, inspired by my dog, Jet. And we're building a total dog care platform, sort of a companion app. So from
Cool.
training to vet services to walkers, groomers, doggy daycares, puppy preschools, all that, in-person trainers, because it is always helpful. And just trying to put together a really helpful app that is like a guide to helping raise a well-mannered dog using ethical training and stuff like that. So we're not far away from launching, and that's what's got me excited at the moment.
Well, good luck, sir, on your new venture. And if people want to find you, like on socials, where are you and under what handles?
Yeah, just Brad Smeele, one word, Bradsmeele. And yeah, that's across pretty much everything. Some of them I don't use. Mainly Insta is the one I'm on. And that's the thing, man. Flick me a message if anyone's got questions. If anyone's knows someone going through something, or if you're going through it yourself, like I'm open. I know how valuable that was to have that help myself. So I'm more than happy to be whatever help that I can be. Even if you got random questions, yeah, anything. Or if you want to slide in the DMs for a date, hey, got to put yourself out there, right? But no,
But
man, I appreciate you having me on, Jake. It's been cool chatting.
nah, 100%. Boom, Sam, you're all over it. Well, appreciate the time. And yeah, we'll wrap it up there. And yeah, look forward to having a yarn again someday, man. And good luck on your next venture.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Solid yarn with Brad Smeele. Roller coaster ride, raw, honest. He don't care. Puts it out there. And I love that. It's showing what that life is. The lows, the highs, the in-betweens. And it's just seeing what he does with his life. What he picks up along the way. How he forges forward. How he keeps galvanising that. And he does. And I look forward to what he's got in the pipeline. I really do. Awesome dude. Really enjoyed the yarn. So if you like the podcast, hit that subscribe or follow button. We've also got a Patreon page. The link is within the description. So if you want to roll with the squad and become a patron, that'd be great. And if you want to get in contact with me, you can get me via Instagram at streetrollandcheetah or email, one word, streetrollandcheetah@gmail.com. Got a Facebook page, Keep Rolling with Jake Briggs. I'm on LinkedIn, Jake Briggs. Check it out. And if you like the podcast, hit that subscribe or follow button. And we've also got a Patreon page. The link is within this. And if you like the podcast, hit that subscribe or follow button. And we've also got a Patreon page. The link is within the description. So if you want to roll with the squad and become a patron, that'd be great. And if you want to get in contact with me, you can get me via Instagram at streetrollandcheetah or email, one word, streetrollandcheetah@gmail.com. Got a Facebook page, Keep Rolling with Jake Briggs. On LinkedIn, Jake Briggs, so check it out. I want to thank our sponsors, Connex, an NDI service provider that's registered in all states and territories, predominantly operating up and down the east coast of Australia, with its main workforce of disability support workers, registered nursing, support coordination levels 1, 2 and 3, psychosocial recovery coaching, bricks and mortar, SDA, 24/7 supports, SIL, supported independent living, MTA, medium-term accommodation, STA, short-term accommodation, ILO, individualised living options, which is a hybrid style of living, which can include people with disability and their families. And Culture Connex works with a wide group of individuals across the board. Doesn't matter the disability or the age. Working with individuals with spinal cord injuries, acquired brain injuries, Huntington's disease, cerebral palsy, Frederick's ataxia, amputees, Down syndrome, ASD, autism's level 1, 2 and 3, psychosocial disabilities, and all other physical disabilities and cognitive intellectual, whether that's standard intensity or very high complex standards of support. And outside of the NDIS, working in other state and territory based schemes. I'm very proud of what Culture Connex does, because yes, I'm a co-founder and part owner of the organisation. So if you need supports at home or in the community, or transitioning out of hospitals or rehabilitation centres, contact us. I want to thank our sponsors, Permobil Australia, the greatest electric wheelchairs in the land. Wouldn't be sitting in anything else but these 4 wheels right here, and they have great assistive tech also. So righto, see you on the next one.